Overtime in the first map of Mirage, and we get to see Big take the win over Fiend, and massively due to the work coming out from Sirison. We questioned what he might be able to do, where's his performance going to be? We're going to see some sick land performance come out of him. One thing though, Drowlon, you're still alive, mate, A little bit stressful.
I feel like an old man right now, it always happens with these games, just can't avoid it. Heart rate, goes up to like 150.
Yeah.
I thought he was going to throw up at one moment. He looked like really pale, and then he comes back with like super red face. He's like pacing back and forth. They won. It's fine. I told you at the beginning that they're going to win.
Yeah, obviously like full control.
Easy game. We can skip to another one. Thank you, James.
That's it. All done.
That's all you got from us. Yeah.
It was though, right, a tough game. A lot of back and forth in it, some incredibly close rounds. Yes, Big got the win in the end, but there was the point where they were coming back into it. We got to that 12-12 scenario, things are not looking too bad, but then Fiend, they were able to get that string of rounds together, and it was Fiend that choked the lead in the end.
The thing is, like, the game was very tiring, right?
Yeah.
It's like, I can't even imagine. I have been part of games like this, where it's like one map is like completely wears you out. This was that kind of map, right?
Yeah.
What was kind of specific for me is obviously the two anti-ecos that Big lost after winning both pistols. It's kind of crazy, right? The difference in T sides, right? It was a little bit scrappy on both sides, but I saw some more versatility from Big. You can see like a lot of defaults, but they just throw in like a pop or two, A or B, doesn't matter. But what really kind of was a problem for Big outside of those anti-ecos is the post-plant positioning, post-plant, crossfires, actually a post-plant in general, right? And that's what cost them a lot of individual mistakes, a lot of individualistic plays from both teams throughout the whole game. Not really a high level CS. You can agree with that, right? So luckily at the end, Sirsa had a really good game.
Yeah.
He carried them through that like important rounds at the end in the overtime, and they managed to get the win on Fiend's pick. I mean, saw Fiend outside, they did not look like the happiest, but sometimes that happens. You have the lead, you make a few mistakes, somebody in a good team uses it against you, and then you end up losing. All of a sudden you're down 1-0.
Now we're going to take a look at round 9 that you guys picked up from this one, right? A bit of that mid-aggression being thrown out there.
Oh, the thing is, like, it was so long ago, I almost forgot what I wanted to say about this round. So basically, it's like you said it yourself in the green room. It was like all about middle. Big was surprisingly not fighting middle all that much on CT side, and this is one of the rounds where actually Fiend is taking top control, and then you see Bubble beating the molly and using the timing. Now this is the thing with this mix, like kind of stand-in, kind of loose teams, and he's going to use the time. He's going to get the kill, and then after this he's going to go to sandwich. But you can see here, right after this, there is a problem in basics right now. You can see the ram guy clearing the underholes. That's not how it usually works. One guy was in jungle, one guy was in stairs, one guy was ram. Usually you need to run up the bench side, clear underholes, and then you get the kill probably, or the trade. If there was a little bit better setup from Big at this point, it would be a disaster. But it need like a sword with like two kind of different sides, right? And then luckily it went good for Fiend this way, but you can see like the mistakes in the basics right there.
I think the whole first half was about fighting for that mid control. Big as a team on Mirage CT side, they're ones who like taking that mid control. Especially since sometimes they had this round where they have 2-man mission just going under and then trying to catch off the B rush, or just like taking mid a setup where one is watching with an anti-flash position, watching under, and then you have another one covering him from window to watch top mid. And on the other hand, Fiend obviously also wanted to take mid. One large part of their T side game, a lot of that mid to A, rotates have been like a crucial part of their success on the T side, and just seeing how that form died. The round started, then you had like 20 seconds of deathmatch on mid, absolute chaos, and then it just like slowed down, and that's where the slow game started, which like
it was a really slow game. And in the overtime, I see Fiend like going with the triple op. It's something that usually people don't do, and I liked it, right? It was a good idea. They backed up from a normal, like, let's play it safe. These rounds work for us. Let's repeat that. They went to a triple overtime. Triple op, and it could have worked, right?
Yeah.
Sadly, it didn't because of some individual mistakes here and there. Searson using them again, and then they just went away with it. So you can't really blame Fiend, that they didn't play a terrible game, just a few mistakes here and there on key rounds.
And now we're going on to Dust 2, which not only is Big's pick, it's the one where they've got this six map win streak on it in terms of the streak that they're going through right now, but it is also the map that Fiend were able to beat Gambit on. Now, we can say very different in terms of styles. Sirison being in form, Dust 2, I can just think of many highlights of Sirison popping off on Dust 2. If he's in form and that, it's going to be a problem for it. But the thing that I'm going to touch, and you mentioned it, right? We saw Fiend outside Cassard. Not as together as when you look at it, we walk past Big. team talking, generally keeping things calm, keeping themselves ready. So the Bulgarians need to focus up and not let their mentality fall.
The thing is with our mentality in Balkans, like we are usually like that, you know, after an emotional game, we're gonna be emotional. You cannot just shut it down. Like it needs to be vented out. Like somebody like, you know, can see the wrong way, but it's who we are sometimes, right? And it could be good for Fiend as well. But coming into Dust 2, right? It's people might be surprised. We talked about Big being confidence and everything. I'm expecting that NKJ, for example, he saw a lot of good things that he can use against Fiend in today's game.
Definitely.
For example, Han positioning, his rotation is the most dangerous person right there. You know, those clutches from Dreamer, they're gonna happen no matter what. He's gonna have some of those rounds, right? You cannot really counter that, right? But you can counter the positioning of the AWP and everything else. So I assume they have a plan going in. You said yourself, they're super confident on Dust 2, so we should expect a good game from Big, right?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a lot closer affair on Dust 2 than actually not just a close affair in general on Dust 2, like we saw in Mirage, right? We saw the game against Gambit yesterday from Fiend, and the way that Fiend just was able to take lone control as CT, you know, not really challenged there, and that's something that I think Big will contest. The same type of like fights we've seen like on Mirage right now on mid, we'll see the same stuff on lone, for example. You know, the two teams fighting for that lone control, because that is like opens up the map for you to like do your execute, right?
Our spawn god's gonna be with one or the other team. That's they're gonna.
Well, let's see how it all goes down. Let's get ourselves into Dust 2 because the players are ready and waiting, and our amazing commentators are ready and waiting as well. Back to you, Jay and Dwig.
Well, Mirage was won by the thinnest of margins, and I feel like Dust 2 might go down the same way. Dwig, I have a feeling that you might agree. Again, an incredible map for both sides. Big probably edged them out in terms of experience alone, but really, like with an overtime result on Mirage, Dust 2 could be very, very similar.
We have to go in with it of the mindset is this series is not done. We're going into the second map. This is still going to be quite a close affair. For Fiend, they're trying to see if they can turn it into a third map, see if they can find a way back into the series. And for Big, the confidence has got to be pretty high right now. Knowing that they're able to beat Fiend on their map pick. They're now going into Dust 2, the 6-map winning streak. It could be 7.
Map 2, Dust 2, pistol round 1, getting live with being on the T side start of things. Fiend have bubble set out towards the short position, trying looking for this first kill or two. He's up on top of Xbox as well. And Molotov forcing him away, but not in the way the T's would have expected it to. I suppose still got an extra few seconds on it. They might start to clear, and they are going to detect him. Fire back, dish out some more damage. You've got to tag off on Gade, so that's a slight start for the CT forces, but Big come out on top.
Yeah, Han is very wide up into this long position, trying to see if he can evade that flash out in the open, still gets that pick, and Bubble starting to backstab. They might not expect this.
Tizian's detected him though, and he gets his double up for it. Red Star joined by backup in the CT. Gade has sight and backstabs as well coming in towards the short position for the Dreamer, himself. So 3 versus 3. Bomb plant will be secured down to default. Ships has found his boost up and will find Searson next, so advantage swings the way of the Fiend camp. They might boost up at elevator to join the player that's made his way up elbow. Gade engages and Ships takes him down. It's Tizian now with one hit found and a dread shot that will not land the Dreamer. 2K to his name and a pistol gained by Fiend.
Yeah, that was a unique setup to come through from Bubble to start it off, hiding in that Xbox smoke, trying to see if he can draw the attention away. Really, it came down to some of those rotations. Ships and Dreamer are both the B players. The way that they were able to come in from spawn, boost Ships up on that elevator position, and for both of them to find impact. A great start in from Fiend. You've got to wonder what Big have got behind them in the second round, though.
It was very similar to the way things started off in the previous map up. The difference is that Big won the pistols and Fiend won the conversions. So can Big turn the tables once again? I've got the bomb plant here, so there is a force buy that they can go with, but they're not going to opt to do so. Straight eco here.
Very uncharacteristic, especially from what we've seen over the course of this event. It feels like any time a T-side loses a pistol and is able to get a bomb down, pretty much just seen a force buy.
Not this time, though. Glocks in, PT-50 out, no Kevlar, no util. Bomb on the back of Tabson at least. See if he can try press this into the site and get a bomb plant if it's all possible. If they had a flashbang to get him into the B execution, then they can try and overwhelm. Maybe they could catch Dreamer and Chips off guard. But they're just going to wait for extensions. Hope that the CTs go too aggressive so they can converge, kind of kill, and maybe storm the B site from there.
Again, Ships being able to switch up roles with Bubble on the City side of Dust 2, go over to the B side, and have Bubble as a bit of a mid player, rotation, in from A. That's always something you have to account. When you've got a stand-in or a substitution, there has to be gaps that needs to be filled.
Smokes up, suppression going to be attempted. Tizian still gets ahead, and Chips and Dreamer can do their damage. The kills start pouring in for these players. Dreamer with three kills, Chips with 2, and it's 2-0 to the board for Fiend. It was an eco for Big though. They have guns out now.
An opportunity for Big to be able to put some pressure on, try and see if they can get some pace out. You've got to think to yourself as well, what Bubble's having a chat with his teammates. Only a couple of rounds in, seems like he's having some serious chats.
Moment to discuss. Figuring things out here. Going into the first gun round of the game, as well prepared as you could possibly be. No tactical calls taken, but that's fine. Guns out, AWPs even alongside the AKs, and it will be CS to land on Bubble. 30 HP down for him already.
Now, that's a lineup that I've only started seeing teams use quite recently, Jay. That's a molly in from the suicide position, or at least just before you get there, that jumps over the wall and lands just before the entrance of the lower tunnels. Because, of course, with this new update we're seeing on Dust 2, a lot of aggression can come up from mid and into those lower tunnels position.
It's aggression from Bubble that looks towards the longhouse for the time being. Suppressed by that smoke and doesn't see anything of the T-side line. Not going to give up a frag so easily here for Big, so Bubble just forced to go passive. Play alongside Han's Scout. Weapon advantage does get towards Big though, so the Orc could easily trump him.
And Flash going through deep up to that short position is not going to evade a massive amount of information. And Keto's just waiting for an aggressive move. Ship so far is just jiggle peeking, not making any push forward.
Happy to sit outside the tunnels here. There's no real reason for Fiend to aggress at this moment. They've spent the first half of the rounds sitting in the sights. In their default positions, maybe hunting for a little bit of control here and there. 40 seconds, Gage just sat back at the Xbox angle. It's tabbing the judge faces and wins that fight against Red Star. Wonderfully done. The Scout can't hit his shot either, so Han's extremely low. Does find a responsive in the end.
That's just a fake. Try and see if he can draw the attention over. And actually, Bigger going back up to the short position. More pressure's going to go down onto the low HP man of Han.
2-2 split set up into the short control. 20 seconds to the clock here. Still Han taps as low as he is. Still focus fire as the flashbang goes over and the teams make their way out. Bubble catches Tizian. Advantage swings to the favor of the Fiend side. Gay looking for that headshot and he lands it so perfectly. Bomb can go down to the site.
Yeah, Bubble going to try and see if he can jump onto the bomb. A lot of damage coming through and Gay getting the pick.
All important to the advantage back for Fiend for Big once again. Fiend have got to consider whether they want to go for the hit here. And I think they might just fall out. Yes, M4's in. They do find an exit frag on Keto. And that sends them right back into the retake, or at least it does for Ships. Dreamer's still thinking about it, but they will step towards short. They're going to go for this.
This is a very late take to try and get back into the site. They've got to try and hit their shots quickly.
Missed shot from Searson's Orb. Gade on the site. Needs to lean up. Needs his headshot perfectly. Spray does its damage. Not quite a full-on frag, but the tap is better. And Dreamer's spray connects. No stray bullets. They'll get out of dodge. All players low HP as Big will find their first.
That's not actually a bad attempt at all coming through from Fiend. They've got a lot of money behind them, Jay. So they know, okay, 2v3 we're saving. One pick gets created. Okay, let's try it. Let's see if we can find something. They're still going to have a buy in the next round. So use that risk and try and see if something can be created of it.
And what a play in from the Fiend attempt. I mean, you got to give credit where it's due there. That was a save call until that pick came back. They clearly had info that Gade and Searson were as low as they were. Taps from Gade, though. That's just silly. That's just silly when it works for them. Tech timeout for Big. We did see headsets removed over on that side of things, so whatever that issue is, we'll get it solved and get right back into the thick of the action. But yeah, what a wonderful round for Big to get themselves started here on Dust 2. They might not have won the pistol, they might not have won the eco, but when the guns come out, they look fantastic.
And we spoke about, obviously, the Vito looking pretty decent here for the Fiend side overall. You have a look back at that last head-to-head that we had only fairly recently against Big in that Elijah event. Inferno and Nuke, we're not even getting those maps. We're getting Mirage that starts off, Dust 2, and then Overpass as a decider. So even though we've seen these teams play one another before, it's completely different territory this time.
We talked so much about the potential in this match and how it could be a banger and it could be a complete polar opposite to what we saw online. LAN is delivering for both of these two sides.
Yeah, so far so good.
Big coming into their own. Fiend may have been a bit slow to start, but now here in the main event, they are pretty much going about, I don't want to say their entire full force lineup. It's not like they're playing as they would do as their full 5 men. Probably about 80, 90% towards there, though. Like, that's what I think. I think Fiend have been wonderful.
So I was laughing at you, Jay. There was just some scissors, paper, rock going on with NKJ and the last player on the big table.
I was so focused on my point, I completely missed that, unfortunately. Been a fair amount of rock, paper, scissors over the course of the week, though.
Now, it's funny. Here's one for everyone at home. You call it rock, paper, scissors. I call it scissors, paper, rock. It must be a region thing, because they always call it in that terms down under, where they don't in the UK. I'm not sure what that is.
I'm pretty sure it's most regions in the world call it rock, paper, scissors.
But how do you know?
How do I know? I don't know.
How do you know most regions in the
Well,
world?
let's find out. Tweet us at the Eternal J and at Drake CSGO on
What it's
Twitter.
like in
Let us
your
know.
region. Yeah.
What do you call the rock, paper, scissors game? Do you call it rock, paper, scissors, scissor, paper, rock? Or do you call it something weird? Let us know.
Yeah. No, not another one. There's no other variation.
I'm being told by the producer in Hungary it's hot rock, paper, scissors, so there you go. Frag found on Searson, and that decides it, by the way, Drake. Red Star down first and foremost. Trade from ships is so low HP already. I don't know how that early damage came in against the CT line. Advantage for Big now as they do find that trade and they find all the short control.
And anytime you have an aggressive move in from mid, you need to have support coming through quickly. Keto's able to get a great trade up into that CT side, or at least being traded. Harm with the AWP, he has to get flashed off angle if they do want to go for the short commitment.
Tabson's got one player to deal with close. Crossfire with the AWP could come in. Doesn't check his back lines, and that's an all-important frag for Dreamer to take. 3 on 3. Han still focused on elbow, looking ahead of the Gandalf box. Catches a player, but doesn't catch the kill. The bomb will go down, and Bubble leans in closer to 20 points of HP. Sees an adjust, but misses his own AWP shots now. So the CTs will gain the advantage eventually. It's Gade on site. Tizian back over towards short. They face in. They see that AWP. Molotovs come in. The spray actually catches Dreamer and damage under the next man. Tizian with a responsive in a 1 versus 1. AWP v AK, and the bomb is in the open. It's switched out to the M4 for Han's part. It's got a smoke as well. Could go for the ninja right here. Tizian expecting to hear a tap soon. Han might have to stick it soon. Taps it once. Forces around the outside. Tizian trying to see if he can bait him in for a bit more. Takes that fight. Han can win it out.
No.
Can't find the bomb. Has that cost him?
I think
Wait
he's
a second.
Right. What?
Okay.
We're all right there.
You can see for a bit, though, how that one little mistake of missing the bomb could have cost him the round, though. Like that, if he had stalled for extra time on Tizian's part, that would have been round for Big.
It does happen from time to time.
Yeah.
That was a well-played 1v1 coming through from Han. He's able to draw out that fight, and that's the most important thing, is that you can tap that bomb, you can swing out wide, but if you're not drawing the fight, you've pretty much lost the round.
That was a hell of a start for Sears, and that's how that damage came in those first 2 players in Bubble and Ships. It was a collateral tag through mid doors. Well done. All right. Shame we're not going to see much of it in this round here. It's a scout out for Searson. No AWPs, AKs, of course, full sport, thanks to the bomb plant bonus for Big. The buy looks more defined for Fiend.
Yeah, Big set themselves up for a B-side exit, perhaps. A lot of players here in the upper tunnels. Decent resmoke in from Dreamer might cancel the execution, at least for a moment. This long control again. Big have just not really been fighting long at all. They've had a couple of lurks here or there for Tabson. Great double nades in.
Yeah, Keto on 10 points of HP. Swapping out his rifle for the Tech 9, appropriately so. It's better to have Tabson rocking that weapon. Keto's be so susceptible to death. And although he has found low HP aces so far in this event, don't feel like you can rely on that. Incendiaries to counteract the Molotovs coming in from the T-side line. Smokes getting set up for the execution. Flashbang initially comes in, the mid doors. Smoked off, flashes, Molotovs, further flashes in. Ships gonna get caught off guard. Blinders are back. Tizian with that frag. Dreamer blind as well. They don't check him though. He's allowed to kill on Tabson at least. It's a 4v3 still. The bomb can get planted. Windows covered off. Keto with another good pick back. And still Bubble's allowed to lean into the site. Finally they punish him.
Well impressed by that B-side execution. And it wasn't just the entries and the amount of firepower they had behind them, but it was the baiting of utility. You have a look at that round. Dreamer and Ships have got absolutely nothing. They've used all of their nades. When that final execution comes through, just that odd little bit of a molly, a flash, a smoke, whatever it was from Big, just drew so much. And even Han's getting hunted. They're going to try and see if they could drop the AWP. The missed shot comes out. Big have been able to strike. A second round being gained by them.
So much lost in that round for Fiend and all.
Double eco, they've got a buy here.
Yeah. At least if that AWP had stayed in, they would have had a bit of a better rifle basis to work from. That for Mars involved, for Dreamer, like that's potential in terms of 2 rifles they can place up in very key areas of the map. Han could buy down pretty heavily here. Could also find some extra weaponry brought into the utility. They're going to stick on 1500. Okay, get the AWP out when the loss bonus builds. I guess that's understandable. Already Keto's found that first player. Not the kill against the man, though.
This is risky coming through from Fiend, just early round, stacking large numbers out to the B side. And it does kind of mean that if it's not a B-side execution, you probably just hold on to your weapons. Even Bubble it long, he needs a 1-for-1. He needs to try pick up a T-side weapon if he can.
Held back behind this doorway. Tizian with the AK. Turning away from flashbangs, hoping that the CT's trying to extend here, but it's just this one lurker. Smokes on cross, detected. Bubble again goes undetected. That's the second round for Big here. They've left that angle completely uncontested. They do find the trade thanks to the weapon advantage, but it's still a 4 versus 4.
Hey, there is a molly that you can jump throw inside of the longhouse that lands on the left-hand side of the doors. So knowing that Fiend have gone for that kind of an angle a couple of times now, Big might start thinking about that. Okay, we do need to use a molly there.
Mollies will come out to the car position to drive any players that might be there away. No one is for Fiend. Sat in on short. Several players are looking up. The Eagles. 5-7s. For Mars back over. Back of Gandalf. They plant open in that position, and that might be enough for the denial of the plant. Gade spots one, and Han drops the bomb in the open. P250 pulled out. Gade dropped down. Now the action towards short is shut down by Ships. Keto caught off guard next. 4 versus 2. The bomb trying to commit. Oh, shit. It's fallen, and Dreamer closes out with a stellar steal for Fiend.
Oh, so many rifles getting picked up too. A free AWP, a couple of AKs. Even Dreamer holds onto that from Mars and gives it over to Bubble. We have just seen so many eco and force buy wins being converted over the course of this best of 3 already.
So often. So often those have happened.
Makes sense for the first couple of days.
Yeah, I guess so. It's as you mentioned though, Blake, those are the kind of rounds which lose you maps.
Yeah. Because
in theory, this should be Big up 3-3. At least when you take a look at the setups individually and isolate them away from the round performance itself. The fact that they lost that though, and considering how down to the wire Mirage's overtime went, that could be enough already for Fiend.
It's probably finding more impact when those eco and those kind of force buy wins come out later into the map, but look at now the momentum that can be built up from Fiend. They're going into round 7 without much against them. This should be an easy 5th.
Looking forward to these pistols. Hard shot missed. I've down to the CT for 2 players here. Searson looking up. Keto looking on towards ramp or some sort of entrance. Red Star, the spot is banned. Take the frag onto Gade. Han there with a headshot back to a 5 versus 3. Bomb in the open. Tizian does find 2 Deagle shots. Keto with another one back on Red Star. It's expensive, and it's all onto the man here. He's found clutches. It's a 1v2.
Oh my goodness, they've got away with so much here, and even this round is winnable for Keto.
Nade evaded as much as possible. Shot rings out. He connects it to Ships. No idea where Dreamer's coming in from that. Nade will give up the game, but he doesn't check it. Thinking it was coming from CT instead. The bait and switch, the rifles gain, the round just held together by Fiend. But for very little investment for Big, a bomb plant, 4 casualties, they set up wonderfully with the reset.
Hey, Ships and Dreamer are probably just thinking to themselves, guys, what is going on with the B players here? How are we having to try and retake in from short up against a light eco? They had 2 Deagles in that round. No Kevlar, no util, no other upgraded pistols. What a round that is for Big. That is so much damage being done. And if they can convert the next rifle in round 8, that's going to hard reset the economy from Team Fiend.
So much investment has to get brought back in for them. Guns, AWPs, M4s, AWPs on the T side as well. The AKs across the entire board. It's mirror setups for their respective weapons. Limited utility for Fiend though.
Out towards this long position. Not the best of long spawns again in from Big. And Bubbles going for an aggressive play again.
Sprays through the door. You can catch Tizian ahead of the smoke. Or push forward into the smoke. A foot seen. Tizian knows. He knows that he's aggressed now. They can just fall away from Longhouse or just wait to get the kill.
And they don't know about Red Star. This could be a bait and switch. Try and see if they could draw the T's into that early fight.
Tizian with the frag. Red Star with a responsive. Flashbang to turn him away as they continue to give chase. The AWP fires as well for the CT forces, and he's going to continue looking in against the AWP assist. And now turn his attention to Elbow where the T's will really act. Gade gets caught. That bomb's still up top mid. It hasn't committed through the short control. It's a 4v3 for Fiend, and Keto still hunting for a trade.
Yeah, they thought with all that distraction being pulled that they could force hard off angle, and Ships making an info play in from mid. The AWP still posted out from Car's going to connect again from hard, and now Tabson's the last one left. 1v4, just hoping to try and get the bomb down, get that extra cash injection. Fiend up to 6, and without that bomb plan, money's not great here for Big. They can't get another rifle round forward.
It's been a fantastic CT side for Fiend thus far. Usually you look at the T side halves for these teams and think that that's where the real performance is going to be, especially Fiend historically. Found a majority of their rounds on the T halves. Big tactical pause. try and figure out the adjustments and how they can try and make this look competent against this Fiend side. So they've had glimpses, they've had moments, that could have been the reset right there, but not getting the round means they failed to do so.
It's just perfect repositioning in from Han. So while all that contact's going out from Long, he does actually move over and back up Red Star for a short period of time. He goes back to Car and Big are hoping that they can just get him sleeping, just keeping that attention over. And even when they're flashing Han off angle, he's turning away from a lot of those flashes. He's finding a lot of picks in and around that A side.
Lots of nades in spawn for the CT side. Give a couple of those and leave them there as and when appropriate. Pistols pulled out for Big. We've got the Deagles, we've got the Glocks. Basic stuff for them. Walk out to the short control, fast running into this position. They've got a couple of CTs to deal with directly. A third man also back up towards Long. Engagements yet to be found though. They're just sitting pretty and waiting.
And they know that they've done a fair bit of damage in the past, and look at all those HEs in and ramp. They're going to do a lot of damage.
Nade on first. Nicely done. Nade on second. Doesn't find the kills. The third one also doesn't find the kills here. HPs are extremely low for these boys. Incendiary's back bubble engages directly against the two frags. Oh, that run by. But against Tabs that lands the headshot as well. Bubble makes it a quarter at the end of the round. It was an anti-eco. Still pretty damn good for them. 7-2 now. Fiend are one away from having the half.
And this is something that Fiend love doing, is stacking nades up in city spawn, playing quite retake heavy. They end up bringing those HEs to ramp, and even if they're not slightly on position, they're slightly off, they're still going to do some chip damage. If you can get that incendiary forward, if you can get a couple of spams through the smokes, you're going to do a lot of damage. You're going to get some of those kills forward. And for Big, both rounds that they've found so far, Jay, on T side have been individual. They haven't been able to follow any up.
A 5-round lead for Fiend as a result of that. They've done quite a lot of work to get this CT side together. Big guns are set up for them. It was an eco that they could have worked against. Rifles in play here for round 10 to try and stop this half from going the way of Fiend. If they can do so, they can still make this look good.
This is a nice walkout from this mid position. Something the Big have not attempted so far. Could catch Red Star off guard.
Red Star watching. Utility thrown over. Warp set for Searson, still watching for a peek, and Red Star's just waiting for his chance. Smokes to cross, Molotov's in. It does get extinguished, it didn't land deep enough. Keto gonna wait for position. Red Star swings out, and Searson gets caught for it, thinking he's completely safe. He thought wrong. Now there's 3 players on the B defensive, and Big don't want to act.
This round's pretty much over. You've got 3 on B. Big have got to get some unreal entries if they want to make this round work.
Tizian hoping he sees someone as the smoke begins to clear. Still a bit of time before we get to that point, though. Ships just leaning ahead. Flashes forward. Here come the T side. Tizian sees Ships, takes him down. Back still turn the Dreamer, who acts immediately, gets his 1 frag, and Tabson finds a responsive. So 3-on-3 scenario. They have forced out the center side defenders, and Red Star does not take a shot to the bomb carrier. It will get planted.
Things have fallen apart here from Fiend. They were looking so good. Even that bait and switch out from Carr only landed 1 kill, and Keto's got his head down. They don't know he's here.
Gade will try and lean back to try and take position over at Carr, trying to indicate that it's the player and this position alone. He finds the kill on Red Star anyway at low HP. And now Tabson sees one towards middle. Han and Bubble trying to act towards position. Bubble in particular coming in from tunnels, trying to get the exit frag. The AWP is already out there. He does find Tabson. He's going for this here. He's got no kit, so he might not have time for this. He might be able to get some exit frags, and Gade in particular will end up falling. He'll hard check Keto as well, but now he's got to run for the hills. Keto himself has also got to stay in position. Stay back at Carr, maintain his life, maintain the 3rd round for Big.
And Bubble can try and hunt after time, see if he can drop him after that bomb goes down. Keto! Oh, he's just going to stay alive. Big actually fought hard in that round. It looked as if Fiend had just completely outread them. That was a great play from Red Star to push forward at that CT smoke, catch off the mid lurk. They played 3 on B, and even with this bait and switch, Dreamer needs to get a couple of kills here. He only gets 1. The pick from Gade to get the man advantage, and then from there, Fiend are just looking for exit kills. They're just looking for further damage.
Big round for Big, even though it was heavily, heavily expensive for them. Tactical pause as well, because they think it's not good enough. And honestly, in part, I kind of agree.
Well, they're 3-7 down. That can't be good enough on your map pick at all. And Jay having a chat with them, trying to see what they can change up. Difficult signs coming through from Big. Not a lot of consistency. There is still time to work with, for sure. The lead isn't completely out of the world. Try and see if they can grind these rounds back. They've got to get on top of the economy game, because even for them, yeah, they won their third. They only had one player staying alive, so they still don't have the best of buys going into round 11.
Double spot several. Aggression in towards middle. He gets 2 kills for it. Tabson there with a response. 4v3 scenario. Fiend already starting off in round 11 on the front foot.
Jeez, they're just relentless, aren't they? Just so much aggression coming through from Fiend. That one right there for Bubble. You thought he was going to get 1 at max. He gets 2. And even Red Star, he's trying to bait. He's trying to pretend that he's not here at Car.
Boost up, scout player Searson thinking what's going on, and he lands the wallbang headshot with support from his teammates to go for those initial tags and see the blood splatter on the back wall. Well done, very smart from Big.
They have that boost up just to see if they can get a crack angle, see if they can catch a pixel, and now they can establish this long take. Just walk up into the bomb side. The AWP from Han has got to try and see if he can find an impact towards ramp.
Keto's second smoke goes down. Orp fires away. Han with incendiary set. Tabson boosting up to try to catch that player off. Scout still watching. The Orp is spotted. Now they can't land the head. They creep together. Oh, this is so well coordinated, but it doesn't come up for Big now. Taps forward. Tabson gets 2. 3 kills overall, and Han's got to fall back.
1v2 position, see if he can get back out to CT spawn, create another angle. Tabson get that bomb, and this is going to be very tough for Han. Going back out to the M4A1S, try and go into the short position.
Still on for the retake, but without the kit. Nade on him. Tabson backed up towards Goose. The scout of Searson held away. At least they won't be able to get the bomb so easily. Nade on ramp. Wrong place, mate. Making so much noise, trying to indicate that he's not dropped down, but I think Tabson's read it anyway. Scout's seen him now. Land a leg shot. Han does jump the face now, see both players and catch the info, but not catch either of the kills. So well done for Tabson. What a sequence that was.
And it actually looked like it was going to get awkward because those smokes are starting to dissipate on the cross, so they don't have a crazy amount of time to work with to keep strafing slowly over to that right-hand side to deal with Han. And once that boost sort of comes down and dismantles itself, you just saw the way that Tabson comes into his own. What a sequence this is from him. How quick those couple of kills come through.
Now Big are fighting. Now they're going. Forcing a tactical out from Fiend, their first of this map up. I guess now is probably the right time to try and do so. Stop this from spiraling out of control.
Yeah, try and see if they can keep it close, keep it competitive up from the side itself. Saracen, even though he's only on 3 kills, it was that scout pick onto Red Star out from Car that was an important kill into the round. AWP is going to be coming back out from Han. Haven't seen a crazy amount of double AWPing just yet from Fiend on Dust 2.
One AWP now on Han's part. Saw quite liberal use of the AWPs over on Mirage, and we talked about the double AWP setup and how well it can work for Dust 2. Definitely favours Big again. Their double AWPs were so effective on Searson and Keto. When that CT switch happens, that's when things get scary, when the money starts to flow for those boys. For now, it's just that scout on Searson still, AKs across the board. Both teams investing, both economies are a wreck.
And no mid player here from Fiend, so all the pressure goes down onto some of the B anchors. The A players are not going to be able to find much at all. Ships at least gets a re-smoke in. The T's are still acting in from mid.
And these two players, in Gane and Tabson, could find Ships and Co. Look towards Car, look towards the boost, and Gade still gets caught for it. Ships getting a frag, Keto gets the Trade Dreamer as known entity, and Tabson strikes out of mid. 4 versus 3, smokes down. This is the CT side saving.
That's just not good enough there from Fiend. Knowing that Ships is able to get that first contact onto the mid player, and they don't know that Dreamer is playing out from Car, he has to win that fight. He can't just do damage onto Tabson, drop him to 30. That has to be a pick. And this is maybe where some of the protocols start getting panicky and things aren't as comfortable. Maybe with the communication, Dreamer's used to Bubble doing a certain tendency when he plays there would be. And this is where we start diving deeper into some of the complexions and the changes that has to be made when you do have a stand-in rather than the full 5.
5th to the board of Big for now. We talked so much about how that standing situation has affected Fiend. Definitely has mitigated itself as time has gone on, but there are still those small little intricacies like you mentioned there. They're not playing at capacity even now.
You've got to work with what you've got, and that has got to be the mindset from Fiend. They know they're not at 100%. That doesn't mean you can give it all you've got.
Yeah.
They've still got to deliver on the server, and right now they've got a lead. They've put themselves in a good position. They have lost 3 rounds in a row, and now the economy's starting to dwindle down, even going into round 13. Yeah, you've got that AWP and the M4 to work with on Hard and for Bubble. Everybody else, eco pistols.
AWP in for Searson. Did see that incendiary coming out. Didn't spot Bubble, though. Tag to 90, burst fire. Flashes out towards the lower tunnels. Pond gets his kill. Held steady, no flash support for Gade. Dry peek, easy frag.
And that's always how you got to play these sort of rounds. When you know that you've got a couple of hero weapons, set them up for early impact. See if you can drop a player early on, and right there, AWP boosted, opening pick down into the lower tunnels. We haven't seen aggression out from the B-side players, so I wonder, does Ships and Dreamer maybe think to themselves, should we try a walk play? Should we try something aggro?
Slow for now. Setting ready for the B-side XE once again. It will be Dreamer and Ships, the 2 Deagles. Fire back and deal with the rifles if at all possible. Again, firepower and bullet output advantage for Big here. Utility set, Molotovs to the corner. Here they go, at the corner. Frag down, trying to transfer back against Dreamer. Not quite as great for Tizzy in this part, so he does find that trade. Second man blinded off by the flashbang. Caught looking at the wall. Dreamer's got 2. In for a third, perhaps. AK sees the bomb in his position, looks up towards window. Finally, Searson deals with Dreamer, so the advantage goes back to 1. But the backstab for Bubble spots out where Keto is. 16 points of health for him, and 20 seconds still. That bomb's got to get picked up and planted, and the CTs are crawling all over the place here. Red Star's not going to swing to deny.
AWP pushing through. Keto being able to find that first. Needs to try and see if he can isolate the picks. He tries his best, but it just doesn't happen. Red Star in from window with that Deagle gets the round together. And when you think about the play, it's not even really the rifles that got a lot. Yes, Hahn found his impact. Bubble was able to find some too. It was Dreamer's play with a Deagle at the back of the side that made that round possible.
Yeah, that was some stellar stuff from him, and ultimately was the difference maker. You're right. Yes, his teammates won the round, but he set it up for them. And that is the half game by Fiend at last. 8th to their board. Big found those 3 in a row, and that at least bolsters the economy state with the bomb plant bonus as well, so they can reinvest. Still awkward though, Keto's got a Deagle.
Fiend are able to find 10 rounds over on their CT side up against Gambit in that best of 1. Looking to try and see if they can replicate or get something similar. Big have really just not been fighting out from this longhouse aggression. Seems as if they're giving a lot of respect for Big, or a lot of respect really to Fiend of taking that area. What to Big do with this? I mean, knowing the limitations they've got, it's going to be difficult with a round like this.
Backed up, flash in. AWP shot baited. The Deagle does land a quick tag. 66 HP for Ships, not ideal, but he's still alive at least.
Even in mid, there's just no pressure at all. Nothing down onto short, nothing in from the mid doors. It's really hard just playing back passive. And we haven't seen a lot from him playing on card, just because we haven't seen a lot towards that short position in a while.
Big will now go there. Smokes on, flashes over. Counter flash from the CT side is pretty nicely placed, as well as the Molotov from Hahn. Well countered, not relying entirely on the AWP picks. Utility involved, boost up, attempting to run boost, I believe, for the T side line. The AWPs are going to try and throw them off, which it will do for the moment being, but Big have their heart set on the A commit.
There's a backstab play coming through. Bubble's been able to push out to the longhouse. He can get in behind them.
No one knows it yet for Big. The AWP shot missing out. They're going to focus on the execution. Tizzy with 1 frag. Turn around, but a second doesn't quite land it. And Bubble can strike. Finds Searson. Tizzy and falling to Red Star to the advantage. HP and man for Fiend. The bomb's on the site. It can get planted.
The HE could be everything, but it doesn't go out to the right position. Tabson in the open, still trying to do damage, but it's Ships and Red Star, and Ships again with the NWP that kicks up that round, gets Fiend up to 9, and now starting to see what Ships can do with the AWP.
All right, Fiend, you're going to make this a pretty respectable CT half. It's looking fantastic for them. Big's map pick, again, they're on the back foot, but unlike how it was on Mirage, they're not trailing here. They're not catching up. They're not equalizing and struggling to get in the lead against Fiend. They can't get the lead in this half at least. Around 15, this will be the last T round that they get on Dust 2. We talk so much about Fiend's T side. How scary is this for Big now?
Not very scary. You don't want to give Fiend double digits going into the second half, that's for sure. You might not even have a choice, even with that bomb plant. Money's still low. Ships with the AWP playing out to that B-side anchor roll with Dreamer. Again, out to the long control. 3 players there from the CTs, just leaving Han passive. And it feels like we're not seeing a massive amount of variation from Fiend. They're just playing their protocols, they're hitting a lot of their shots, and they're making it difficult for Big to iron out some opening man advantages.
Smokes at the ready, Flash is also in position. Got the CT cross counter nade from Red Star will dish out some damage pretty heavily to Tabs and Incendiary. Blocked out by Keto, and Chip detects him anyway. He committed the bomb first, and now they're just going to smoke it off, but even more utility down. Red Star flashed out in a CT, and Tabson completely just whiffs the spray. Searson and Gade finally get something back for Big in this 3-on-3 scenario. The bomb can get picked up, but the site is completely opened up.
Oh, Han gets dropped trying to rotate through. That's a massive pick to come through from the AWPer, and now even Red Star's low. At least he catches Gade.
Giving up that frag a little bit too easily there. He was low HP. Probably have been better to hold passive and face. More pin for Searson. Doesn't even get the frag either. It's Tizian now, 1-on-1. As he trades back Red Star and looks in from the top of the window. Takes his fight and wins it. And Big will get away without conceding double digits to the Fiend at the turn of the half. It is still 9-6 though, and it is even more far gone than it was on map 1.
And that's a great clutch and a much needed round to come through from Tizzy and just put themselves in a decent position. And for Big, these rounds haven't come easy at all. We've seen a lot of pressure being applied by Fiend. They've put themselves in a good scoreline. And even looking at some of the kill numbers, only 1 player up there in double digits of Tizian. Everybody else from Fiend have got up to 10 or more. Those individual numbers from the kill counts need to be impressed going into the second half of the Germans.
And it is the T half, and everything we said about Fiend's aggression is going to apply heavily right here, right now. 3 rounds to separate. Big, they themselves could dish out their own damage. They've got USPs in position if they can hold this one together. We could still see some competency from them. It's T side defaults out towards long. Searson gonna hunt for these first couple of picks, and the tags up just don't quite come through for them. He's forced to back away.
He does make a fair few info plays in that long aggression. Couple of picks, or at least a couple of players that get seen. Not quite converted into picks just yet. Aggression going down towards that short side. Fiend, outside of the long house take, they don't really have anything else.
Mutations back into T-Spawn, up towards the tunnels. Got Keto and Gade on the B defensive here at the tunnels entrance. They do jump face and look for info. Don't see anything from Fiend as of right now. They're just going to wait. Give away no info on the Fiend campaign either. Like, just little by little. We'll creep forward. And Keto gets away. Sneaks in a frag on Bubble and Red Star as well. Looking for Hard next up for the triple. And by his lonesome, he might have just won the round.
Oh, he definitely has. Ship's looking for a trade back. Does get a couple of kills. He is blinded. He's still alive, and he's even got Dreamers that lurk up to 8.
He's leaning in against Tizian next. Gade up the doorways. Tizian gets the trade and just holds the round together. By his lonesome, Keto got the round in the advantage for Big. Ships by his lonesome almost brought it back. But fortunately, the trade is effective, and now it's Dreamer in the 1 versus 3. Well, it could have been a doable 2v2 scenario. Now falls apart. Dreamer does find that 1 frag onto Searson, but 20 seconds, the smokes are up. The CTs are going to hold their crossfire. He can't even get the bomb down to the site, I don't even think.
Yeah, he's got to act now. He's got to really get in here quickly, and it's just not going to happen at all. Oh, you really don't want to be staying alive in this one at all, but that might be the only option. Tizian's just not even going to face. Sees him towards CT. Yeah, that kind of sucks there for Dreamer. 2v5 situation was always going to be difficult. And for Keto, what a sequence that is. Him in the lower tunnels, moving forward, strafing up the stairs, looking in, and dropping that bomb, getting 3 picks, and he makes it look easy.
Wonderfully done there by Big's defensive, particularly Keto. That second shot. And this sequence in general is fantastic. 7 to the board. Even the save call in against Dreamer's part means the economy is going to be wrecked. Absolutely wrecked for Fiend.
Might just force buy. Honestly, I know they didn't get a bomb plant. They didn't do a lot of damage, but just knowing that they've got someone with no money, that may be the expectation of just get the pistols, get the Tech 9s and the Deagles out.
Tactical pause for Big, curiously enough. I would have thought that would have been for Fiend here to try and discuss whether or not they go for that force buy. I think you might be right, though, to equate the money line, sort of bring it back down to the standards. That way, when the bonuses come in, they can start buying as a team together. It does mean there's still going to be a player on a Glock, though.
Yeah, as well, you have to imagine that we have had so many situations who has ever won pistol in this best of 3 series has pretty much just fluffed the second round. So this is now Big realizing we've been so back and forth from the early starts of all halves across both maps. Let's not make sure that happens to us. Let's not make sure we just get reset here.
They have their bases set on the defaults. Smokes on to the mid doors for Tabson. Top of that boost silently dropping off of it, so the teams won't be aware of his current angle. Minute and 20 early in this round. It's again slow, quiet, little info given up.
Now flash into the upper tunnels just to allow Keto to jiggle peek, seeing if anything is being lined up with some nades. So far, nothing's being gained. A walkout from mid could be quite cheeky. There is 3 on B from Big.
Red Star, Bubble, and Han. Tabson was defending it earlier, and now it's Keto to lean in from window with the nade support. Tabson, the SMG, will try to bait them in pretty hard. Keto's job here is get a frag, get back on the site.
It all just comes down to a matter of timing. How can they break this setup? Because for Fiend, if they're running into B and there's this many CTs here, they are going to struggle with the trading game.
Gade sandwiched in past these smokes. Finally, Keto takes engagement. The SMGs can strike. Gade and Tabson with 1 kill apiece. Gade doubles up. Keto gets involved and does secure the final frag. Only 1 casualty taken and an SMG drop for Big means that they're all A-okay. 9-8 and eco now for Fiend.
That was a nice attempt. You try and see if you can split into B. It's one of those calls where you look at it in hindsight and you have to say, fair play. We tried a B split, there's 3 on B. You could not have read the Big were going to play that many players out to B, especially when you've got that re-smoke that comes through from mid doors. A good read coming through from the Germans, get themselves closer to tying up the scoreline.
Pistols out of standards for Marcin Tabson. Finds his kill on ships. Nice and effective and efficient and easy. Citizen Scout hunting for a headshot. Sees 1 player up towards top mid. Bottom mid might be his big concern. And the authority out of that kill was the Galil of Gade instead. Red Star at least finds him responsive with the Eagle in hand. Still the advantage for Big though.
And just try to see if they could draw some attention, draw some further util, make the round as expensive as possible. You still do have a Deagle and a P250. We have seen rounds like this get won by Fiend in the past. Literally only the last map.
Those second rounds.
Not even last week, but last map.
And we'll walk forward with the Eagle and the P250 out towards the tunnels. So whipping his sprays, does come up with a kill back and bubble. Sees the second man, Tech9 pulled out and finally spots the both. Does get overwhelmed. Galil's in position to try to deny it. They could still get the bomb plant here though. Incendiary at the ready. Puts that down immediately. That's probably going to be a little bit too late to deny the plant. It's still fake though, so it stalls it for an extra few seconds. Sets the backstab back in for the likes of Tizian. Red Star, however, low HP, spotted now by Tabson's part. Bomb attempted for a second at time. I've now got an M4 to work with. Flashed out into the tunnels. They're still holding the site pretty respectively here. They're dishing out some damage. It's getting a little bit too slow for Big, a little bit too dicey. They get those dinks off though. Han on 9 HP, the Mac 10. Han still gets a kill for it, but Tizian with a responsive. Now Red Star with Deagle got to land the perfect headshots with first and second. Lands that third though. Flip back spams. No. Tizian keeps things in order, but again, with the eco pistols doing so much damage, Fiend have to be happy with that.
Yeah, normally when I get around like that, I'm not even fazed by it. I look at it and go, yeah, there might be a pick or two, but nothing. Now what I've seen, just how much of a struggle it's been for both Big and from Fiend of winning the anti-eco rounds and the anti-force buy. Anytime you even see a light eco, you have to think to yourself, there is some level of potential here.
9-all for Big, though. They have fulfilled their wish to get in the pistol win conversions and equalizing against Fiend. Now the concern is going a little bit further than that. They had struggles in getting the lead over on Mirage. Will it replicate here on Dust 2? AWPs in, M4s, AUGs, AKs across the board for the TT sideline. Rifles in, the Molotovs down. Gade holding himself ahead of CT spot.
Re-smoke comes through. Gade's going to watch it out. Might even spam up to that Xbox position, see if he can catch Bubble rotating in. Fiend widespreading across the map. Harm with the AWP just playing out from mid, waiting to see if he can catch a jiggle or an over-rotation. Very passive. Haven't seen a lot of aggression from either team on T side, on Mirage, and really here on Dust 2. Other than maybe Fiend on a few rounds here or there on Mirage, it's been quite slow and passive.
A lot of passive and quiet T defaults over the course of the last few days here. A lot of teams are going to slow their rounds down, I guess. pretty on brand with Counter-Strike at the moment. Tabson pick up the pace a little bit with a swing towards mid. Gets that first frag. Damaged under the second player. Red Star on 48 HP. AUG sees the AWP next. Forced him off angle at the very least, but no kills found.
And they've got to commit with this, really. You have to imagine they're already out from the mid doors. They've got more players into the lower tunnel. Ships is hoping that one of these long players extends out for the longhouse. That's not going to happen. This is so patient from Tizian on an off angle impaired.
Gonna wait for Ships to give up the angle. Meanwhile, his teammates start walking into short. Their execution might draw Tizian off position, but he still holds strong as the Orpo Searson can strike. Now Tizian will start to move. Oh, he catches another player at the edge of the smoke. Ships leans up, spots the man, Harm with a responsive, and gets the AWP v AWP battle one. M4 held towards Pit, tap first, and Chips is desperate to catch this kill, but he cannot seem to do it. It's Han, 1v3, one frag found, very tight shot to hit. Looking back in for the next, but doesn't connect it, and Keto can come in with the flank.
I feel for Han there. He needs support. He needs help in that one, and you don't want to point fingers. It's just that kill at long has to come through. Otherwise, there's no way that round's getting won. You can't put all the emphasis on your AWP just to have a massive clutch. Yeah, there was a great way that Sirison up on Car was getting picks, was slowing that round down. He drops the bomb. Han's able to find that one pick back, get that bomb plant, but this kill out at long onto Tizian needs to be coming through, and it just doesn't happen.
Connecting their shots. Big have the lead. Yet to see a start for Fiend in this second half. Yet to see a T-side round from the Bulgarians. AKs and AWPs are still back in for them though, so they have that full buy at the very least. Walks in the defaults here for T-side in the tunnels. All stacked up. He's being a bit more louder with throwing out default utility. It might be a pretty quick second piece. Baiting in Keto with a slightly wider face. Flashes in, they tap him up, and eventually he catches that kill. Hard with a responsive. Gade is so close. Doesn't see the player on the top of the stack. Still drop that bomb anyway. Needs that second kill, and indeed he gets it. Meanwhile, Tabson falls to Han. Incendiary back. A 3-on-2. That bomb is on the boosters all, and Han's going to burn quite heavily. Gade can swing to get an easy triple. Bubble can take back Searson, but now it's a chance for Gade to make it a quadra. A big hold from him. His teammates on the way back into tunnels. Bubbles check Car, not check Plat. Sprays a bit awkward from the CT player, but the flashbang's still there. That bomb is still up high, and eventually Tizian catches the final frag, gets an 11th round for Big.
And that's a fantastic hold coming in from Gade, because you could see they realized the information that Keto's playing the back of Plat with that secondary AWP almost when that round is already going for the execution. They get that 1-for-1 trade, and it's like, right, trade Gade at Car, we get the bomb site. We've got that lurk. One of the players from Fiend was walking out from the mid doors. That was Bubble that ended up being the one that needed to try and clutch. The problem was Gade. They just could not deal with him.
Tactical pause called in by Fiend because they're getting rolled here. 5 in a row in the second half.
The rounds are competitive. They're just not being won.
Yeah, that's the problem, right? Getting close, getting damaged, putting them on close reset potential for the CT half of things, but the fact that the rounds are being won means that Big are just going to continue to extend the lead. If they can win all the rounds, that's all you need to do.
Yeah, you have to have that mindset. No matter how close the rounds are, no matter how many clutches you're losing, if you're not putting rounds up on the board, it's going to starting to take away from you. Might even see a challenge out from long. Bit of pace.
Flashes in, engagement from Tizian. And Tabson here, they're forced back onto the site. Red Star leaning ahead of Pit, blind fire from the M4s. Don't catch anything as of right now. We go back to that slow default. At least for Fiend, once they win that one round, it will be a reset against Big. So the euphoria and the momentum swing is going to be so massive towards them. It's just a case of getting past that line.
Ships has got to try and get an immediate entry there to be in a tough position. Tabson trying to back up his teammate. Rotation's still underway. Tabson with a multi-frag. He's still alive, and even Tizian's helping him out.
Well, Han once again in the clutch. 1v4. He's found that first. Scout shot into the headshot at a second, man. Okay. 10 HP. Bomb out in the open. The CTs know exactly where it is. He's making a lot of noise. So's Keto, though. And Han's got to draw his attention over there as the second CT starts rolling in towards his short angle. Tags up against Keto. Not good enough to get the frag. And Big will find 12-9 still. They have the max loss bonus here. Fiend, they're not getting the bomb plants in that last round, though. Probably a half buy for here.
Yeah, Han has really been a revelation at this LAN. We know that he was sick online for ages now, but this LAN, he's delivering at an incredibly high level. Again, though, where's the support? You have a look in that round. He gets a 3K with a scout, and it's just everyone else struggling. It's Tabson being able to find a multi-kill, Tizian being able to find a multi-kill, and Big, this streak is just getting out of hand.
Well, Fiend back him so heavily to set him up on the hero AWP. There's a Mac 10 in on Bubble being the next best weapon. Pistols for everybody else, and they're going to go fast into mid. They already found the pick in mid, so that's a decent start. 2 smokes down at CT, a bit of a waste of utility there for Fiend. Might be enough though. They're going to go fast, and then they slow it back down towards short as soon as I say that.
Tizian may over-aggress, and if he does, he could actually drop this bomb. It all just comes down to a matter of timing, and now they're aggressing up in short.
Fast and loose and reckless here from the T side. Tabson catches ships. Red Star still on the site though, and Tabson suspects it. Tizian does indeed drop Bubble, and Harm will get the trade back of the AWP. 3v3. That bomb's made it to the site though. The plant can come down. The Molotov comes in very quickly though.
You'd have to imagine Harm with the AWP is going to have to be the difference maker in this round. Gade is pushing forward.
Nice nade on Dreamer. Red Star spotted first, but the Deagle connects. Advantage now for Fiend. Their pistols working well for now. Harm's still in play with the AWP and everything. Hito bombs so out in the open. They haven't got a smoke to put up for cover, and the AWP lands a triple. Han going huge, and he might just bail out Fiend in this hero AWP round. Tap one spray through on Red Star. Not aware of the second man, of course. But now they're all posted. Now they've got the round on lock. Now Kito's got no further time left. Spots the 2, sprays on 1. Gets that second least attempt to do so. USP can land that frag. No, Red Star turns the Deagle to his head. Had he got that pick, though, he might have stuck the full 5 seconds.
I think that's 4 rounds in a row now that we've seen Han get a triple. We are just seeing a lot of multi-kills coming out from him, and it feels like finally there's some space being created there. Red Star's Deagle, you've got to give him credit. He had some fantastic domes with that first entry onto ramp, and then even followed up with the last player.
Said Han was a revelation. Revealed his AWP. Put it straight to the big side.
Jeez.
Perfect shooting from the Deagles as well. And again, that reset's coming hard against Big. USPs, P50s, hard stacking towards mid. Ships will get overwhelmed by it. That's 1 AK that they can grab. That bomb's already in the B side, though. It's just going to get planted.
Now, they might just have to give him the respect of holding onto this AK. There is a player out from long that's clearing the majority of the bomb site of Bubble. That bomb's going into B. Big, their main objectives now is just holding onto that AK.
Plant down. Secure the round, get 11 to the board, and again, that's what I was talking about, that momentum swing that now could favor Fiend. The guns can come back for Big, though. Again, they invested nothing into this round. The economy line should lead itself to a buy. It might be a scrappy buy on some players, but that AK is going to do them a world of good.
Yeah, right about the money line being limited for Tizian and Tabson. Everyone else is pretty solid. Fiend, it's been difficult on this T side, and it felt like finally they were rewarded with that previous round of now forcing it into an eco, into the next rifle. You'd have to imagine that's where the Germans are going to put the pressure back on. Keep the double AWP set up going for Sirison and Kito. They found a lot of success with that.
Double glass cannons in this round, I think, though.
Kito can buy body Kevlar and an AWP, and Gade can buy one over to Sirison, so they can both get AWPs out with armor.
They dropped one of those AWPs, they'll pass it back and forth. Kito's going to go with the AUG, though, so opting not to go for it. The SMG for Tizian. And they're very careful about where they spend their money, so M4s, AKs, AUGs, SMG for Tizian's part. And Fiend have their standard AK single AWP set up on Han's part. Keep your eyes on him on that mini-map. He's watching out mid for now, expecting some mid-aggression. There's only one player aggressive, and he's on long at the outside of house.
And there was a missed Xbox smoke for the T side, and that mid player in from the CTs of Gade was just able to spot it straight away, so very telegraphed that it's going to be a long take in here from Fiend.
Still so quiet for now. Just post up with that one individual Tizian, just waiting for them to act out of the longhouse. I don't think he hears those footsteps. He'll hear the flashbangs and know that they're playing something towards mid. Still stick with that 3-man stack towards the B site, and they might have misread this here.
Yeah, Fiend going heavy into the stack, you'd have to imagine is going to be not the best for the offensive. Big. Oh, they've read this well.
Yeah. Taps up. Nades on. Oh, well timed there from Kito. He'll blind spray on ships. Got teammates on the outside of the site. Gade and Tabs to chime in. Drop that bomb. Dreamer next to face. And next one to fall as Kito does end up with a double. Losing his life towards the end of it, but coming up good to bring in 13 for Big.
And it definitely hasn't been easy sailings in for Big. It's looked fiery from him, though. You have a look at that best of one they played against Asuba yesterday. You have a look at how this best of three is coming through, and the protocols are there. The peak on the contacts are fantastic. Gade looks like he's been introduced into the team on LAN fantastically. Just keep it up. That's all it is on this City side. Fiend have only got 2 T rounds. That's it.
We gave so much praise to their T side as well, Dwight. We thought this is going to be their half. This is going to be it. This is what's historically always been it. Not the case here on LAN. Big beating him up so hard right now. Ops in. Again, the double ops now out for Keto and Searson. This time they do bring it up to the fold. Are they ready for the suicide player? The nade's on, and Searson indeed will catch Han.
Yeah, dropping the main man. All the action being fell early into the rounds, and now you put it into a position where you go, okay, Ships, you're going to have to be the guy to step up. You have to hold the AWP going into round 25. Taking back the long control shouldn't be a problem. Bubble in. He might even get aggressed.
Tizian walks. Bubble. No, utility pulled out. I had no idea. SMG can now upgrade to an AK for free. He's going to wait back there in case there's more short presence. But Ships with his AWP finds Searson. That might indicate what's really going on here. Should lean forward relatively soon. Tabson has an AUG. Incendiary in his hands. We'll put that down towards ramp. Try and force them away here. Other smokes up. Red Star. Whenever he acts is when they'll go for the hit definitively. Dreamer wraps the corner. Ships gets caught by Tabson. Flashbangs forward. Both players spotted. AUG spray gets the kill. Not quite the second. Dreamer again on the clutch for 21 HP for him. Now the AKs are in the hands of the CT, so they don't even need to fight for it. Just nade straight onto the man. 14-11. Big on the precipice of the 2-0 victory. Fiend would come out with a disappointing T-side for it.
Yeah, it's got to be tilting, and that's going to get into the mental state here from Fiend, knowing you're map down already, you lost your map pick of Mirage, even if it was a close affair. It looked as if we were going to go 10-5 at the half. It didn't quite happen. Now we go into the second. They've only managed a couple of rounds. Ships gets a decent trade with that AWP to the edge of pit, but Tabson's hold with this AUG is everything on the side.
Stellar shooting from the CT forces. Searson to put his AWP straight down to Han. He's gone suicide several different times, but this time he went towards long. Picked up immediately. Rest of his stacked up teammates. And a half buy involved. There's a couple of hero weapons are coming in. We've got a Galil for Dreamer. The AK on Red Star at $50. They get the damage, the bomb plot if it's all possible. They can win the round, that would be ideal. That AWP has other plans though. Searson sees them all. Catches Red Star, leans in for another. A triple, a quadra, on for the ace, and he gets it in all. Good night, sweet Prince. Fiend about to lose this in 2-0 fashion. Big on map and match points.
And Searson dropped 34 kills and 18 deaths in that first map. He might only be 15 and 18 this time around, Jay, but in the second half, the impact kills have definitely come through. He's won 2 AWP v AWP duels against Han in a row, cleaning up the pistols out from long, and now bigger up to 15.
What an ace for Searson. Perfect shooting. Every bullet landed. Honestly, unreal. He has stepped up in these last few rounds, posting up even more than what Han's been able to do. The third tactical taken by Fiend. Last chance saloon for them, 4-2 OT.
And things have got very difficult from Fiend. They've had to rely on their AWP to draw them out in a lot of these situations. Even Ships is going to be on a deagle. No AWP for Han. Galil to come through from Bubble. Early play out from long. At least they get rewarded with the opener.
All sorts of damage done to Dreamer. Red Star credited with the kill. They're going to force forward. Still look for these players at the long control. The AWP is Searson. Watching back behind Carr. Liners are back. Can't see them past these smokes. They will start to clear soon. And Red Star will be the first victim of the big green once again. Tizian follows suit on Bubble. Gade gets another frag. Han with a scout can at least drop one. Bomb in the open in a 3-on-2 scenario. Big have all their bases covered, except for Ships. This backstab's got to come up good, and that scout drops, so it's all left to the backstabbing player.
Oh, Searson just delivering in the late stage of this second map, and there it is. Big getting the 2-0. Only 2 T rounds being found by Fiend, and Big looking composed in that second half of their map pick.
Absolutely. I honestly thought it would be a better T side from Fiend. I'm a bit disappointed, honestly, Blake. Do you think it was down to more Big being incredible in their CT half, or did Fiend just not come up to play in that second one?
Yeah, Fiend struggled individually to open up space. They weren't able to find a lot of man advantages, and it felt like as if for Big, they were doing very well with the utility damage. damage. They were stacking their bomb sites, and with some of the important rounds, just look at what Sirison was able to do towards the end of that.
We've mentioned his name a lot in the last about 10 minutes or so. That really is how much he sprung into life towards the end of that map up, and for Big, it will be an all-important victory to go top end of their group, and of course make their way into the semi-finals. Not that great, of course, for Fiend, though, because they have to drop to those quarters, and there's some staunch opposition in there.
Yeah, they gave him a good fight. You have to remember, this is a Fiend side that doesn't have a lot of LAN experience with these players in this team. They're here with a stand-in. Their opportunity was the first map, though.
Yeah.
When you look at it in hindsight, they needed to win Mirage because Dust 2 didn't come through. If that would have happened, we would have been saying hello to a third map. Sometimes, though, it doesn't go your way.
Absolutely, and it kind of sucks as well, considering the 2-0 potential that Fiend had in this series, getting two of their best maps in the entire pool. Had Mirage gone their way, then there could have been potential in terms of that third map itself. So having kind of bottled it here, they drop out to face off against the Movistar Riders in the round of 6. That match could still be pretty interesting for me, Dwayne.
Yeah, definitely so. I think that's a very tough one to call, just with how close some of the teams are. When I look at that overall from Big, I say to myself, geez, there's a lot of confidence in the map veto to go into Dust 2. I thought it could have been floated to the end. They decided to pick it, and pick it for good reason.
Well, once again, we all, the desk myself, picked into one team. You picked against them, and you come up wrong here, Dwight. So I do feel bad to you for a certain extent, but
Gotta give it.
Yeah, I am giving it here. The real expert is over here, and the real experts are sitting down on the couch and the desk with Bax and the boys.
Thank you very much, guys. I'll be nice to Dweg. Dweg, I'll allow you to have your first prediction when it was wrong. You can just pretend you predicted Big the whole way through. There you go. Extra point given for him.
Also, let's just pretend we didn't see that shirt from Jay. Another thing that
He's represented the red line, you know, he's trying to be invested in the game.
looks like a cowboy from a Western movie, right?
Should we get him the hat, you know, he needs a little,
You know,
next time you go on camera, Jay, we'll do a
you
little,
look good. You look good.
you know.
You look good.
Well, there you go. At least we came dressed to impress. Drowlon always does as well. And also, you survived this. Not just your boys, but you know, your heart rate, everything else. You feeling good?
To quote a very smart man, I guess at the end of the day, they were the better team.
There we go. See?
It was a massive brawl on both maps, you know. Few rounds here and there went the Big's way, but I'm looking at Big's game, right? They won their pick, but there's a few rounds, few things they need to look at as a team right now. They're gonna have some time off because the quarterfinals are tomorrow and the semifinals are the day after, so they're going directly into the semis. But some things they need to look at, right? The things that I saw is post plans, obviously, that we discussed. The most obvious thing was the anti-E, because they lost way too many. They were a couple of times slow on that cross on long, and the most important thing on T side that I noticed is that your usage of flashes. They use so many flashes so early in the game, so when they come to the execute, they don't have enough flashes to push off the op. And then Harm was there getting the kills that he didn't need to get if he was flashed. So that's one of the things that Big maybe needs to take a look at before coming into the semis, because if they run into Gambit somehow, then it can be a problem either in the finals or in the semis, doesn't really matter, but if Dust comes up again, it's going to be a problem, you know. So there's a little bit of work for them. On the other side, we have Fiend, who played a good game, right? They had Mirage in the bag. They didn't play bad on Dust 2, you know, at all. A couple of mistakes again here and there, but they are waiting for Movistar Raiders, right? So it's going to be an even matchup for the semifinals. They're not out of it yet, so
definitely not.
So
They've got a lot of fight in them for sure.
Yeah.
And I would also say for Big though, how many times are they getting upset by these force buys, these low buys, the pistols and deagles coming in there? They got to tighten that up a little bit better.
It's something they need to look at.
It's a recurring thing for us, I guess. It's good to see though that our CT side is alive and kicking. You know, that's one of our biggest strengths on this map. If you think back to the PGL Major, when Big won those maps against Mouse and Ants, you know, in the best of threes, Dust 2 was the one which came through to them, right? And the key there was the CT side. They always lost the first half in terms of rounds, it was a 6-9 or 10-5, and then all the comeback happened in the second half on the CT side. So that's our biggest strength. On the T side, as you mentioned, some things to look at. You know, most of their success there came off those B hits, those executes, but there were some rounds where the one person who went through mid, you know, as the flank, he got caught off. You know, usually there's one round where Sirison pushed up with the off and then he got caught off, you know, and things like that are the ones which can a bit quench that B push if you're on the T side, you know. So I guess the trade potential to be there or supportive flashes.
The thing there on CT side, like you mentioned, it's much easier for Searson right now because after the patch, it was much easier for CTs to push and play more aggressive, more loose. That kind of suits certain style. Like he needs his space to do his thing, and he's like really good at doing his thing with an op, right? As we saw in the first game, and like a little bit quieter in the second game, but he still had impactful frags, right? So, like you said, playing CT Saturn comes easier, so they did it really well on this game, and that's why they are in the semis.
And the streak continued here for Big. They are now in the semis, like you mentioned, a really positive sign from, putting themselves as far forward as possible and avoiding the upsets, right? That's going to be key here. Yeah. NKJ's in there as well, and we speak about him. I think for me, it was more like understanding what kind of a coach he'd be, given knowing how he was as an analyst. You definitely knew he knew the game. But you saw him get involved, giving the boys some fist bumps in there as well, Not maybe too overhyped with it, but he seems like he's got a good nature to him.
I think when you have players, like Gate and Tapson, who are like very positive figures in the team, those leader figures who can guide the mentality in game, what you really need from a coach in this instance is obviously you need some of that human connection, but also a more insight on the analytical side of things, because that's where Big has had struggles in the past, So I guess from that perspective, he's a great fit.
The thing is, like, when you get a coach, right, he needs to play it off by his instincts. Like, if you have emotional coach, then he will hype people up, but you cannot make or force like a non-emotional person, like an introvert person, a little bit. It's just gonna not look natural. You just need to let him do his thing. Obviously, NKJ was very analytical in the past, as I remember back in the days of Envy, and right now you can see that he's a little bit engaged, which is fine. He doesn't have to be like jumping and screaming and everything, but as long as you're doing your job correctly, and then the team is happy, then you just be you, and then it should be fine.
Well, we're going to take ourselves a quick break. So thank you very much for all your thoughts. We'll be maybe, I guess, more of an extended break in here because we're doing a fixed schedule before we come into our next game. So go get yourself some drinks, some snacks, some lunch maybe like we'll do, and make sure you're back for that next game.